Hey Treasures friends, we are on our 2012 annual retreat at the beautiful Lake Arrowhead, and because it is February, the month of Valentines, we thought it would be an awesome month to interview Jim and Roe Dodgen and just ask them some questions about their marriage and what was challenging for them and what has been great for them. So Christina Fineo, our new intern, will be doing the interview. Hope you enjoy.
Thanks, Roe and Jim. I'm so excited you guys are here.
Hi, Christina.
So my first question is, how long have you two been married?
36 years.
Wow.
And a half.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
So my next question, how did you two meet?
Are we going to tell the truth?
I think we are. The short story is I had become a Christian in November, and it was January, freshman year of college, and I had a roommate that sold drugs, and she slipped me some acid. I asked for it, so I tried some LSD that night and called a friend of mine because I started freaking out, and asked him to come over and be with me, and he said, well, he was busy, but he'd send the new guy on the floor over. And so he sent Jim over. And so he stayed with me all night and walked me through it, and we spent every day together after that, just pretty much.
Wow.
And we kissed at the end of the night, so.
Awesome.
Well, it's actually the beginning of the next day.
Okay, so that actually leads to my next question.
Okay, yeah.
Getting kind of personal, but were you both virgins when you met?
I was.
You were.
I was not. I lost my virginity in high school, and then I had sex with another guy before I met Jim.
Okay, so how did that affect the relationship and the marriage, knowing that Roe was not a virgin?
You know, I think maybe in the beginning of my relationship, or our relationship together, our marriage together, because we early on in our marriage, we were in the Midwest, and we were attending a conservative Bible church, and I think that maybe I thought that maybe affected some of what was going on in our sex life early on, but I don't think that was really it, frankly. I think it was deeper than that. I think there were things that Roe brought into the marriage from her upbringing, and things that I brought into the marriage from my upbringing that really complicated things in the beginning. Yeah.
Okay. What was the hardest point in your marriage? What was a battle that you just had to overcome in your marriage?
Well, I'm sure we'll answer that the same way. It was 1995 when Jim told me he had been hiding a pornography addiction for 20 years. And I did forgive him the day he told me about it, but it took me 2 years to truly forgive him. And we went through 2 years of very honest conversations. You want to add to that?
Well, and I would say that having been married 20 years, that day, that night was really, that was, God said, tell the truth or not, and I had a choice, and I chose to tell the truth, and I told the whole truth. I told everything that I could think of that she needed to hear, and it was risky. That was really difficult because I didn't know what was going to happen, but the good thing is that she did forgive me, and the next thing that happened, the next morning I woke up and I was, for the first time in my long Christian life, I've been a Christian since I was 12, I really had experienced victory over sin, because I had been praying to God for that to go, for this addiction to pornography to go away since I was 14. So yeah.
Wow. Roe, how did you build the trust? How did you build that trust back up with Jim? Because I know a lot of women that have gone through that. Mm-hmm. And how was that? How did you overcome that? What was the...
Well, that's a really good question. First of all, I think that the journey that Jim and I went on together, telling the truth, it was just not him telling the truth. I began to see that God blesses those that tell the truth. And God was blessing Jim, and I started telling the truth, that I was angry, and that I struggled with envy, and I get jealous, and so there was this new relationship building between us an honest relationship of who we truly are at the very core.
Yeah.
And so we were building a new relationship, and so trust was beginning to come, and after 2 years, when I really hit bottom, then we started really talking in new directions, and trust just came as we continued to trust God, and we were both growing spiritually, and we were having honest conversations, and that was probably the truth of it, is just honest conversations and continuing the journey with the Lord.
That's awesome.
You know, and I think too the difference in me, I not only was I telling the truth, but I was articulating. Basically came out of hiding, and I started to take the lead in our relationship, and I started to express my emotions. Before, I just was all wrapped up inside, and you know, they called me the quiet, reserved one, and clearly I was. But now I was beginning to express even my anger, you know, and not afraid to express it, and even to. This is my favorite part of the story. After that night, it's for the next 6 months, and actually for a long time, and even now, but for the next 6 months, there was a real sense that God had taken a picture of love, joy, and peace and just poured it down our chimney.
Wow.
I had never experienced anything like that. I actually fell in love with her again. I mean, I really looked at her differently, and it was really an interesting experience, to say the least.
Wow.
And there was a lot of confusion going on inside of me, because he was stepping into being a man. There was something manly going on with him that was very attractive, but it's hard to express what that looked like, but there was definitely something going on between us that was a true intimate relationship was really being built.
And I'll say again too that, you know, our sex life went from almost nothing to, I mean, dare I say amazing, but
it's good. That's good. They're married. They're supposed to have an amazing sex life.
It was really, it's not always that way, but I mean, it was really good. I mean, and I think that maybe certainly added to her ability to let herself, you know, be the woman that she was meant to be, the wife that she was wanting to be. You know, for me to do the same for her, to be the husband and the man that I should be in her life.
Well, it seems like you guys got a lot of healing in that. And that
took time.
Brings me to my next question. How did you invite Christ to be in your marriage? When did that happen? When did you invite Christ to lead your marriage?
Well, I would say early on. I mean, we did meet in a Midwestern town in Kansas, and we had a wonderful group of people that we went to church with, a Bible church, and there was a gentleman there, actually the doctor who delivered all of our babies, you know, he taught a Sunday school class on marriage, and I think that what he taught us really, because the truth is, the first 20 years of our marriage was really pretty rocky, and there were times when we had even used the word divorce. But what Chet taught us was that, you know, more than love, commitment was really what a marriage was built on. So early on, we understood what it meant to be married and what it meant to make that commitment. And I think that I'd have to say that was, you know, God was in it in the beginning, to say the least. And I'll say the day we got married, I knew this was the woman that I was supposed to marry. I knew in my heart, and I had real peace about it. The next 20 years wasn't fun. I mean, there was some fun for sure, but it was not easy the next 20 years. The last 16 have been pretty amazing.
Yeah. Marriage is work, guys. Marriage is work.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it is work.
And 36 years. Yeah. That is awesome. Okay, now this is for all the singles, because it is Valentine's Day. Jim, what are characteristics in a husband that women need to look for?
You know, I think it's kind of tough here in the Western culture, because I don't think a lot of us men know how to articulate who we are, or know how to be honest about who we are, or can hold our emotions in a way that a woman can respect, and really be drawn into. So I think if a young man if you can find a young man or a man who can really articulate who he is, what he believes in, what he stands for, and he's not afraid to express his emotions, appropriate ways, and not afraid to stand up for, against whatever, because of his, certain, whatever line he draws in the sand, he's able to draw that line and stand by it. Then that's the kind of man I look for.
Yeah. And Roe, I'm gonna pose you the same question. What are those characteristics in a husband that women need to look for? Because Jim has so many amazing characteristics, and
so what would I say to a single woman to look for in a man?
To a single woman looking for a man.
Well, I think Jim was saying, I agree with everything he said. I know he wants them to be devoted to Jesus. Devoted. That means there's an obvious love for Jesus, and then there has to be a real sold outness to honesty and truthfulness and good values. I wouldn't want a young girl to expect the man to be perfect, because they will not be. We're not perfect.
Yeah.
But we're all on a journey, and we all have done things that we wish we hadn't.
Yep.
And so there has to be a balance of grace.
Yep.
But it does help if there's some really strong values in that young man that can go a long ways in making a successful marriage.
And now I'm going to say the opposite question. What are characteristics in a woman that a man needs to look for? Because, men need a wife, so what are those characteristics?
Gosh, I've only had one woman, so I
Hey, that's a good answer.
Clearly, I just never did date much at all, and so Roe was my first girlfriend, really.
Wow.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of big.
You did good. You picked right. So, Roe, why don't you just name your qualities, and then men will know what to find in a wife.
I don't think I would want to name qualities. I think, again, just the devotion to Christ, but it would be important that you share the same values, because we kind of live in a time when roles are really confusing. So some traditions still believe in a husband leads and the wife submits. Some believe in mutual submission more. And however you see Scripture, you need to have that conversation. There needs to be a shared value in that before you get married, so you have an understanding of where you're headed. And of course, just a love for purity, just the purity of God's Word, but the purity of following Him from that kind of a heart.
Yeah. Now, I know you both are in ministry, so my next question is going to be, how do you balance ministry and marriage?
Well, one of the things that we try to do is we have fun together.
That's good.
And we started sailing several years ago, so we're working towards getting our captain's license. And
cool.
we have, a vision of sailing between the islands and the Caribbean someday.
Awesome.
And we take dance lessons once in a while. That is not a shared love, but he does it for me.
Aw, and see, that's what it's about. Compromise.
I think we both may have, we struggle with good boundaries with ministry opportunities, but we talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Communication.
We communicate it. We know when we've done too much. We are able to say that to each other.
That's good.
And we're better than we've ever been before, but we still have room for growth.
That's awesome.
I do think, though, that we might be a little unusual because we are actually we're actually working together in ministry.
Yeah.
And which I think is a little unusual. And that we enjoy. We enjoy the process of preparing together and then doing what we do together and then actually debriefing together too. That's kind of an interesting exercise. but to work together is really something we want to do more of, and so that's we've been making a shift in both of our careers to move together a little bit more. So.
That's awesome. Okay, final question. What is your favorite part of being married?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I make them tough. I'm just kidding.
Just being with him. It's really simple. It can be just cuddling at night and knowing that he's holding me, or just being able to talk to him in the middle of the day because I just had a hard conversation with someone, or and I know we're talking about Valentine's Day, but our sexual expression has grown over the years. It's not, sex is more about expressing our love for each other.
Yeah.
And it's not about, gosh, I want this or that. And that has come from a caring relationship.
Yeah, that's good.
And I would say the same. I think that to know that I have a partner, and again, it's not perfect. I mean, we still fight. But to know that I have a partner who's not just going to walk out on me. I mean, I think we're beyond that, and I think we really trust that in each other. And I just enjoy that. I mean, it's good to have this partnership, and it's a unique partnership that only a husband and wife can share. If it's good, it's good. If it's not so good, it has its challenges for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jim and Roe.
Thank
Jim,
you.
so much.
Yeah.
Happy
Well,
Valentine's
We have
Day.
so much to look forward to. It's just been so awesome for you to be here on Valentine's, and we appreciate you watching. I hope you got a lot out of this. It's amazing to hear married couples 36 years come on. Praise Jesus. Happy Valentine's Day.